It's officially the second half of 2025. It feels almost surreal to me, and I'm wondering, has it gone as fast for you? It feels like 2025 is absolutely flying by. And overall, things are going well, but oh my goodness, there have been some challenges this year for all of us, for the collective. And as I come more into my own identity, as a podcast host, as a business owner, and I let go of the identity of who I was for 26 years, which was a music teacher. I've encountered a really interesting surprise. When I got clear about what was bringing me joy and places I found joy, I was guided back into music, but in a different capacity. So I've shared it on social media that I have accepted a fractional role, which is fancy business speak for part-time job with a prestigious local children's chorus company. And so I have accepted the job of teaching the littlest singers at the Pacific Youth Choir here in Portland, Oregon. And I'm so excited. And I'm thrilled about that. I'll be sharing more about that as time goes on. But the reason this happened was because I got really clear on what was bringing me joy and areas where I might need to bring more joy into my life. And as someone with deep intuition and psychic abilities and mediumship, it's really important for me to also ground into data and science. So I'm not just flying off into the ether. And so I have a practice where twice a year I set aside 2 hours and I go through my planners and my calendar. And then I make a list in a separate notebook of everything I did, everything I accomplished, every way I spent my time, every time I held a sales call, every time I held a connection call, every time I built relationship, every time I brought in a new client, every time I was a guest on a podcast, so on and so forth. And it was really informative this time. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you on today's episode. And I shared this with my group, which is also called Your Yes Filled Life. They are they're my pride and joy. I'll just say it. I love working with these women. They are expansive, big thinking, big feeling, big hearted women. And I was sharing with them the impact that doing this year's mid-year reset had on me. And so I want to share it with you. And I would invite you, if you don't already have a practice that does this, where we don't just look at January 1 as a pivotal time, invitation to also create your own mid-year reset. It's a great time to make sure that what you're doing is aligning with what you set out to do. Now, I also do this on a smaller scale each quarter, but I tell you, I pull out all the stops and I make a favorite beverage. This time it was a nectarine Waterloo with electrolytes, which sounds kind of weird, but it's so good. I use the Primal Hydration electrolytes and they taste like strawberry lemonade. And it was amazing. So, invitation to just really give yourself the time, the gift, the grace of setting aside some time to dig into the data. As very intuitive people, sometimes we don't always take time to dig into the data, and the data, it tells you a lot. So, without further ado, let's dive in. Welcome to Your Yes Filled Life. I'm Brenda Winkle, an intuitive leadership coach and somatic guide for high performers, high achievers who want more freedom, ease, joy, and energy. You are a visionary leader, driven, intuitive, and ready for more. More flow in your work, more presence and joy in your life and relationships, more trust in yourself and the decisions you make every day. Here, we explore the intersection of intuition, leadership, and energetic sovereignty, blending practical strategy with energetic alignment so you can create success that feels deeply fulfilling at work, at home, in your relationships, and in your own well-being. You'll hear inspiring stories, practical strategies, and high-level conversations designed to help you integrate the woo into your daily life. Because when your energy is aligned, everything flows. Ready to elevate how you lead and live? Start by downloading my free energy audit at brendawinkle.com/audit and discover what's fueling or depleting you. Let's do this. Your yes-filled life starts now. It is time to say yes to the version of you that's already here. Invitation to come join me for a 4-day journey called Yes to Me. This is a 4-day energetic journey to activate your clarity, amplify your intuition, and help you lead from your truest, highest frequency. You've already created the success on paper, in your business, in your career, in your life. But now something deeper is rising, a quiet inner knowing that says, it's time to lead from who I really am. It's time to stop translating my truth to make it more palatable to other people. It's time to say yes to me. Yes to Me is a high frequency space for intuitive, high achieving women to return to their knowing, remember their power, and expand into leadership that feels like them, not the version they've been performing. You don't need more strategy. You need a space to hear yourself again. This isn't a course, it's a frequency shift. To learn more, go to brendawinkle.com/yes to me. That's brendawinkle.com/YESTOME. Yeah. Okay. So yesterday I did my mid-year reset, and I want to share this with you because it was really informative in all of the ways. And so what I do for my process is I get my planners from both quarters, and my planners are quarterly planners. So I have one for first quarter, one for second quarter, one for third quarter, one for fourth quarter. And so I go through the planners and I go through each day. And on that day, when I have done something, completed something, I put it in a separate notebook. I use a journal that my sister gave me for Christmas from Granada. It's a fabric journal and it's beautiful and it just feels special. And then I'll go through and I'll list every time I recorded a podcast on someone else's podcast, every time I had a connection call with someone, every time I had a sales call, every time I brought in a new client, every time I pitched something, whether it was a brand or a podcast. And I'm not focusing on results, I'm focusing on effort. Like, what am I doing? It's all about the effort. And then I go back through and after I've done all the effort, then I can, with a data mind, go through and analyze my results from the quarter because it takes away the emotionality. So, for example, if you suddenly decide that you want to audit your nutrition and you start tracking your nutrition and you realize that you're eating 5,000 calories a day, you're like, oh, well, no wonder. No wonder things are doing the way that they're doing because the math says that's what will be happening. And then you can make conscious decisions about whether or not you want that to continue. It's the same way in our lives, in our businesses, and in everything that we do. So I have 3 major focuses for the year. One is to build community and connections, and that's both in person and virtually. One is to grow the podcast, and one is to increase revenue. And so with those 3 big goals, because I only let myself do 3 big goals, then I can go through and see, is my activity supporting those things? And if it's not, what do I need to shift so that it is? And so here's an example. At the end of the year, I realized that my podcast was not doing as well as I wanted it to do. I mean, it has like 25,000 downloads, so it's not like it sucks. It's doing well. But it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do, and it wasn't really connected to the content of anything that I was teaching. And so at the beginning of the year, I changed that. And I started to select guests that would only deal exactly with the content that I want to teach, that I can loop into the things that I'm already doing. And then I made sure to build relationships with those guests before the episode so that it wasn't like we were coming in cold. And then I also made sure that the guests all understood how important it was to share their episode. And then the next thing I did was my own action, which is I started to batch my relationship building calls with the future guests, and I started to batch the recordings so that I was in the same energy for each. So at the end of first quarter, when I analyzed my data, I was like, oh, okay, I'm not really seeing a jump. In fact, I had 9 episodes less than the previous quarter. And so I was like, well, that's disappointing. But I thought to myself, things take time. I'm going to commit to this. This was my yearly goal. So I'm going to commit to this for long enough to see if it works. And so then at the end of second quarter, which was just a couple of days ago, I went back in and analyzed the data, and downloads are up 30%. 30%. So it took time for it to happen. But because I was looking at the data and realizing what activity was connected to that data, I was able to make the change. The same thing has happened with my building community. So in December, I was still like, the weekends were really long because everybody who's working doesn't do anything on weekends. They don't answer calls. They don't want to jump on a Zoom. And so sometimes I would be like, okay, how am I going to have connection over the weekend? And so Maya and I moved one of our days that we got together to Saturday. So that handled Saturday. And then Sunday could still be a really long day because I might not talk to anybody that's my people. I would go out, I'd be around people, but I wouldn't talk to my people. And living alone, that's kind of a deal. So I started to just focus on how can I tap into as many local events as possible. And now as I look at the data, I have so many social engagements that I'm having to decline some because I'm tapped out. And it's because I put my focus on that. And so what I would love for you to do is take away the emotionality around things that you're doing in your life by actually taking a look at how you're spending time and then celebrating the heck out of everything you do. Really, really celebrating it. And then also looking for, are there any shifts that need to happen within that? Like, are there ways I'm not honoring my time? Are there ways I'm not honoring my bandwidth? And are there different things I need to shift in order to do that? And so when I told you my third goal was revenue, I'm a manifesting generator and I love new ideas. New ideas light me up. It's so fun. I love to create all new things. And so I was like giving myself some tough love and thinking about, oh, how many programs did you try to design just within this 6-month period? Oh, okay. Well, that was kind of a lot. It was kind of a lot of new programs. Maybe what we ought to do is focus on 1 or 2 and not 4. So as I set into my next 6 months of 2025, I'll be really streamlining the focus. And so again, there's no emotionality. There's no negative self-talk because I'm like, oh, well, the data says this is how I'm spending my time. This is what I'm doing each day. All I need to do is to shift that input so that I have different data to look at next time. So I won't be designing a bunch of new programs. I'll be shoring up my existing programs. And if we look at the way we spend our time and what we accomplish in a little bit more linear way, which is not my natural go-to, I'm like flow, intuition, let's just feel into it and see if it feels good. But if we actually incorporate the data, we can make really aligned decisions by tapping into the intuition and using data points to inform, is what I'm doing actually doing what I want it to do? Is it moving the needle in the way I want? And then without beating yourself up, without getting emotional about it, you just shift the behavior if you need to. And most of the time, When we lay it out like that, it can be slightly confronting and also really celebratory. And it's important for you to get all the way to the end of the process. Because I promise you, in the middle of the process, in the middle of the looking at your daily, what you've accomplished, you're going to have a thought that's going to be something like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing the right things. Oh, I feel a little bit embarrassed. I can't believe I didn't see this until I saw it all together. You're going to have those thoughts and feelings. We just want to love them and say, thank you for, thank you for showing me. And I'm going to keep going because when you finish and then you look at the whole list, then you're going to see you've done a ton. And then you get to decide, do you want to continue those things or not? And so if I could encourage you to do one thing as these long July days are upon us, I would invite you to, put aside an hour or 2 hours of focused time and just really look at what's happening, what you're doing, how you're spending time, money, energy, bandwidth, and make sure that it aligns with your goals. And if it does, great. And if it doesn't, come back to alignment. I hope this was helpful for you. And I really hope that you go spend some time analyzing how you've been spending your last 6 months, because I promise you, you're doing more than you think. And I'd love for you to give yourself the credit that you deserve. And then if there's anything that you need to tweak and bring more into alignment, you have the knowledge and the wisdom to do that now. And so I'm going to be doing that here on the podcast with you. We are going to begin some really focused conversations on things that are really specific to the needs that I'm hearing from my clients, as well as the things that are on my heart. So over the next few months, be prepared for an incredible series on sex, love, and money. And we're going to be diving into ethical practices in the spiritual business community, whether that means you're a life coach or a healer. This is for you. So I'm going to go prep for that. I hope you have an amazing week. I'll see you back here next week where you're going to hear from the fabulous Eva Deluscious. Okay, bye for now. Until next time. Oh, and one more thing. If you could please go give the podcast your 5-star rating and review wherever you're listening right now. It takes you 30 seconds and it makes such an impact on the podcast. And if you really loved it, would you go share it with a friend? Bye for now.